What was your worst date? College. Third date with a guy and ended back to my place. We really hit it off, had a lot in common, chemistry was hot. We moved it to the bedroom and things were progressing until he stood bolt upright, said I'm a virgin. Put his pants back on and immediately left my place. Total confusion cause we were both heavily into it. When he took his pants off, small change, his wallet, a key fell out and he left them behind. Called/texted him to pick them up and was ghosted, leaving me to wonder what in hell I did. 6 months later I get a call, oh hey, sorry I flipped out. I was scared I wouldn't measure up. I've been dating a bunch now and am ready for you. Like WTF? You wait until 6 months? Dude, do you want your ID or CC or anything back? I still am unsure what the blip he meant by that last call. I'd moved on. 16 years old in high school, so only barely counts. He took me to church for our second date and the plan was to get lunch after. And while I'm atheist, I grew up Catholic, so boring church services are something I've learned to endure for food. While being very food motivated was my first mistake, the shit show I had to endure through that service was by far so much worse. It was not your normal church, it was a damn theatrical show where people would stand up and scream and yell in tongues. At one point, the pastor, or whatever he was, yells out my daddy was not a monkey in reference to the fact that evolution wasn't real and was the devil playing tricks. After that statement I couldn't keep a straight face and started laughing hysterically, tears down my face and everything. Anyway, he broke up with me in the hallway the next week and said I was basically the devil. I started laughing hysterically again at this. Safe to say, he was not happy and avoided me the rest of high school. She was really nice but was also open that she'd recently come out of a relationship. While we were having a drink in a local bar, her ex was there with his friends. I don't think it was planned because it was one of those local bars where lots of people went and knew each other and I'd seen him there many times. She mentioned that she had seen him in there so it might be weird, so I said she should just say hello to him rather than him seeing us together. She did, and he was actually very cool about it and me and him spoke about the situation. But she said that seeing him made her realize she missed him, so I said, would you rather just join him and his mates? And she said yeah. I just bought us 2 drinks so I sat there and finished both on my own before going home to my mom's house and trying not to cry. This happened when I was in college. We went out to eat and I made the mistake of letting him drive. Halfway through dinner and I was so full, I couldn't finish, but didn't want to waste it, so I got a to-go box. He said, looks like I paid for your lunch tomorrow too, which made me really embarrassed. Then we went back to his place and watched a movie. It was weird, he didn't make a move, no surprise because there was no chemistry, but he stopped the movie halfway through and put on another, longer, more boring movie. Ike, what his plan was? Then eventually we stopped the movie and he started showing me things from the internet. Around that time, I started asking to go home, but he ignored me and kept showing me lame memes or something. I was furious but also mystified. It was like he didn't want to take me home because he was hopeful he would get some action, but had made absolutely no move on me at all. Eventually he did take me home, and later that year, he came to my dorm suite to talk to one of my roommates. I was in another roommate's room at the time, heard him come into the common area, and I quietly opened up the window and crept out. We were on the ground level, so I wouldn't have to see him. The fact that he didn't drive me home when I asked really bothered me. Date/hookup. He was as cute as the pics, but that was the only positive thing about him. We had chatted for a while and he seemed really cool. We were meeting halfway at a semi-fancy hotel. He proceeded to talk at me for a good 3 to 4 hours, about his job, how he was a bit of a celebrity in his town, Pop 20000, because he hosts local radio. Talked a good deal about his ex and how he stole all their friends after the breakup. Honestly, I understand his ex, and their friends. I was polite enough to listen and I probably could have tried to steer the convo towards other things, but I had lost complete interest at that point. After his rant he was suddenly ready for sex, the last thing on my mind then, but okay. Worst sex ever. He came within a few minutes, and I was left to fend for myself. Whatever I thought, at least I get a hotel breakfast out of this tomorrow. The face crack I got when I saw that due to some renovations or something they only gave out bags of sandwiches and an apple or so, instead of the normal breakfast buffet, memories. All of my worst dates happened from talking to strangers on Facebook as a teenager. Teenagers stop dating online. First date, I was 13 or 14 and started talking to this guy on Facebook. He lived on the other side of my city and we had a lot of common interests, specifically paranormal and horror. I should also note he was the same age as me online and in real life. Well, one day we decided to use the bike trail to ride our bikes halfway across town and meet at a park. I get to the park, I'm exhausted, and he's much uglier in person. We start riding our bikes down the trail further and he says he wants to go look at these haunted shacks in the woods. I'm sorta on edge, but he shows me his pocket knife and says it'll be okay. We continue down the trail and we're by the local day camp that is clearly having a music session, and he starts talking about how he can hear people doing satanic rituals in the woods ahead. For some reason that was weirder than the shacks for me, and suddenly, I decided I didn't feel good and called my mom to come get me from this random nearby park with my bike. Yes, she was concerned how I biked like 10 miles from our house, since I didn't learn my lesson the first time. When my parents were out of town when I was 16, I decided I needed to meet up with some other guy I met on Facebook. He said he was 18 or 19 and he again was on Facebook and in real life. I drove to his house to pick him up and we drove around. He was also much uglier in person. Eventually I asked him, "Do you want to hang out at X Park?" He replied, "No, I have bad memories there because my ex thinks that I raped her there," and I was like deer in headlights, and then he tried to kiss me at a stoplight and I noped the fuck out of that. Then he proceeded to bawl his eyes out and beg me to get him a McChicken. I was honestly so scared, so I went to the McDonald's to get him a McChicken. My panic must have been obvious because the McDonald's dude actually asked me if I was okay and I just said yeah. Then drove this guy home. I blocked both of them after our dates, and the moral of this story time is when you're a teenager, don't go on dates with guys from Facebook, cause there is a chance you will not be as lucky as me and meet people who are not your age, and if you are like me they are probably rejects with lots of issues.